Here are the first 9 NBA draft picks. Number 1 overall, DeAndre Ayton was chosen by the Phoenix Suns. He's a 7-foot big man from Arizona, and he's a hometown hero. Now, the second guy chosen was the Sacramento Kings chose Marvin Bagley, a 6'11 center from Duke. So between the number 1 pick and the number 2 pick, I think Marvin Bagley's a better athlete. That's who I would have wanted to have on my team. But I understand DeAndre Ayton is a hometown hero of the Phoenix Suns. He went to college and high school. He went to high school in Arizona. He went to college in Arizona. He's a hometown hero. And if Marvin Bagley was a bust, and you picked Marvin Bagley over the hometown hero, you'll never hear the end of it. You passed on DeAndre Ayton, the hometown hero, and he's better off. He's better somewhere else, and the Phoenix Suns could have had him. You can't. I get it. I get why the Suns picked DeAndre Ayton, and a lot of people think he's worthy of the first pick. Now, the third pick is where it got interesting. This is where I want you to perk up your ears and listen. Pay attention to this, because the Atlanta Hawks drafted Luka Doncic. Luka Doncic, I don't know how to say his name. I'm going to say it that way, whatever. So after with the third pick, the Lakers drafted the guy from Europe. About 10 minutes later, so remember, number 3 pick, Luka Doncic, the Atlanta Hawks. 10 minutes later, the Hawks traded him away. The Hawks traded Luka Doncic to the Dallas Mavericks, and the Dallas Mavericks, who drafted Trey Young, traded Trey Young to the Atlanta Hawks with a 2019 first-round pick. So again, after the trade, I repeat, Atlanta received Trey Young and a 2019 first-round draft pick from the Dallas Mavericks, and Dallas got Luka Doncic. So clearly, very clearly, Dallas believes in the guy from Europe. It's very interesting to me because what happened was basically the Dallas Mavericks gave up 2 first-round draft picks to go get the European player. To me, this is the story of the draft. This is the most interesting story from the NBA draft. Did the Dallas Mavericks make the right decision? They traded away 2 first-round picks. Do you know how hard it's going to be to live up to that? Time will tell. This guy, Luka, could be a star. He could be a great player. He's only 19 years old, though. And if he's not a star, if Luka's not a fantastic player, then the Dallas Mavericks massively screwed up. Now, I will point out some people thought Luka should have been the number 1 overall pick, so you can make an argument, fine. But, man, I mean, you traded 2 first-round picks, Trey Young and next year's first-round pick, to go get the player from Europe. He had better deliver. If he doesn't deliver, that's a tall order. It's really hard to live up to that expectation, and so we will see. Time will tell. But keep your eye on that narrative. Did the Dallas Mavericks make a huge mistake, or did they do the right thing? Time will tell. Now, the 4th pick in the NBA draft, the Memphis Grizzlies drafted Jaren Jackson, the 6'11 power forward from Michigan State. I like this pick a lot. I liked it more than most. Because for me, this guy can hit threes. Shooting threes, no matter what position you are, matters. You can play more, you can play longer, you can play better, you can be more involved in the game if you can hit threes. And Jaren Jackson, 6'11 power forward, can also shoot threes. You can't say that for everybody in the draft. I think that matters a lot. Down the road, we will see. Time will tell. Now, the 6th player drafted in the NBA draft, a guy I really don't know anything about, Mohamed Bamba, a 7-foot center from Texas. Great, awesome, don't really care, we'll move on. Chicago Bulls drafted another center from Duke, Wendell Carter, the 6'10 center, also again from Duke. Number 8 overall, the Cleveland Cavaliers, the 8th pick, drafted Colin Sexton, the Alabama point guard. And finally, number 9 is where I'm interested again, is the New York Knicks picked Kevin Knox, the 6'9 small forward from Kentucky. I like Kevin Knox a lot. Kevin Knox can shoot. And the 2 picks in the NBA draft that I really like, that I thought mattered the most, that I thought were maybe underrated or whatever, I kind of 2 value picks I wanted to pay attention to was the Grizzlies drafting Jaren Jackson and the New York Knicks drafting Kevin Knox. They can shoot really well. They can hit threes. That matters a lot in today's NBA. I mean, look, the league is changing. That matters. The other notable draft pick was the Cavaliers drafted point guard from Alabama, Colin Sexton. Let me tell you what, LeBron James does not want to play with Colin Sexton. He doesn't know who he is, doesn't care. This kid's a baby. And it's interesting because Colin Sexton really isn't even a great trade piece. You can't really get a lot for him. So I don't know what the Cavs are thinking. Seems clear to me the Cavs are like, we're not getting LeBron back. We're moving on. That's kind of my takeaway from this. So I don't know. We'll talk about Michael Porter Jr. down the road. The guy from Duke, the guy who pushes everybody around, what's his name? Grayson Allen went to the Utah Jazz, 21st overall. But I want to move on from the NBA draft. I think it's, maybe we'll talk about it later, maybe we won't. But what's interesting to me is the NBA draft happened. I mean, the NBA draft came and it went, and I just didn't really care. Let me read you some of the names. Tell me if you've heard of these names. DeAndre Ayton, Luka Doncic, Jaren Jackson, Colin Sexton, Mohamed Bamba. Names that nobody really cares about. I mean, maybe you do. Maybe you're a hardcore NBA fan and you care a lot. And that's awesome. I don't mean to offend you at all. But my mom has no idea who DeAndre Ayton is. My mom just simply doesn't know. My mom, not a sports fan, knows who Baker Mayfield is. And that's the inherent flaw in the NBA draft. It's why the NFL draft is so much better. By the time a player reaches the NFL draft, he's had 3 years in college at least. And he's built a brand. He's built something around him. Again, my mom knows who Baker Mayfield is. And this is why the one and done isn't great. Because who are these 19-year-old kids? I don't know. And how can you tell if they're going to be great? I've seen you play 30 games in college. Who knows if he's going to be a great player? It just feels like a shot in the dark. And I'm just not a fan of the NBA draft. I don't know. It seems like there are too many busts. There's too much bust potential. Do you know who Jahlil Okafor is? Jahlil Okafor was a 2015 NBA draft 3rd overall pick. He is now 22 years old. He was 19 years old when he was drafted. Jahlil Okafor was 19 years old. And he was a complete bust. He's been traded 3 times. He's a mess. He wasn't worthy of the 3rd overall pick because he was 19 years old and nobody really knew what he would turn into. We thought we had high expectations. Nothing happened. Or look at Markelle Fultz with a K. Markelle Fultz was 19 years old when he was drafted. And he's kind of busted. Nobody cares. I think it's interesting. There are so many busts, and I don't know how you look at a player who's 19 years old, played 30 games in college, and say, yeah, I know what to expect. I know to believe in that person. I don't know. I don't feel great. I don't feel great about it. And I get why the one and done exists. The reason why the NBA wants players to stay 1 year in college is so that NBA scouts don't end up in high school gyms. But the problem is only being 1 year removed, they still do anyways. Why do you think Michael Porter Jr. was the 14th overall pick? He played literally, I think, 3 games in college. The only reason why Michael Porter Jr. was drafted because he was good in high school. That's why he was drafted. He's a 19-year-old kid. And I don't know. I don't have a solution. I'm just complaining. I hate the one and done. I hate the culture in the NBA draft. Why do we look at 19-year-old kids and say, yeah, you should be a professional? And you know what? How do you look at a 19-year-old kid and project what they're going to play like in 5 years from now? When you're 19, you have no idea what you're going to be like when you're 24. Nobody knows. And it seems like nobody can know because it's just like a shot in the dark. People make mistakes all the time. I mean, do you want to make kids wait longer in college? Probably not. I mean, colleges are just as scummy as high school is. But for example, I hate that college makes millions off of kids and give them basically nothing. I mean, I'll say this, at Duke, at least you get to hang out with Coach K. That kind of matters. But unless you have the guy from Villanova or Coach K, like, are you really around great influences either? I don't know. Like, maybe I think the NBA should evolve the G League, their developmental league. But I really have no idea, and I just am frustrated watching the NBA draft last night. who are these guys? Most of these guys are 19-year-old kids I've never heard of. And the NBA draft feels empty, like a shot in the dark. Like nobody knows who these, people know they're stars. They do their research. Some people are really engaged, but the average sports fan doesn't know. My buddy who likes football, likes basketball, no idea who these players are. I do because I'm a nerd. I'm a sports nerd. But most of my friends, no idea what's happening in the NBA draft. And the NBA draft is, I don't know. It's rare. It's a very limited sample size to look at a guy who's 19 years old and project what he's going to be. Look at the NBA draft last year. It's a perfect example. The best player maybe from the NBA draft last year was Donovan Mitchell. He was a 13th overall pick. If they knew he was going to turn into what he did, he would have been the number 1 overall pick easily. And then you look at Markelle Fultz, probably a bust. Number 1 overall pick, barely played, got hurt, couldn't shoot the ball. Number 1 overall pick. Does anybody know what they're doing? I don't think so. Why was Jason Tatum the 3rd overall pick and not the 1st, or at least the 2nd? If they knew he was going to be that great, he would have gone earlier. I don't know. I guess the key to me is that nobody involved in the NBA draft really seems to know what they're talking about. It's a shot in the dark. A 19-year-old kid who looked good in high school and we think is going to be good when he's 24 years old, but nobody really knows. I don't like the NBA draft, and it's just not great. There's one more storyline I think worth your time in the NBA draft, and that's Michael Porter Jr. So Michael Porter Jr. was the 14th overall pick in the NBA draft. The Denver Nuggets took a chance drafting this guy. And this guy was talented enough that people said he could have maybe even been the number 1 overall pick. The problem was injury concerns held him back. Injury concerns forced Michael Porter Jr. to slide in the NBA draft. Remember, he had a back injury in college. He was a high school star, like great. I think he was a number 2 player in the nation in high school. He was incredible. People said he's the next Kevin Durant. And then he went to Missouri last year. And after just 2 minutes, came out of his first game. Turns out he had herniated discs, needed back surgery. And he did come back for the final 2 games, but he really didn't play at all his freshman year. He was injured all the time. And then leading up to the NBA draft and workouts and stuff, he had some hip problems. That concerns people more. So even though Michael Porter Jr. is supremely talented, people say he could be the next Kevin Durant, he didn't get the same look. The truth is, if Michael Porter Jr. is what everyone projected him to be, he is an absolute steal at the 14th overall pick. So the Nuggets took a chance. The Denver Nuggets took a chance on Michael Porter Jr. with the 14th pick. They decided, this is high risk, but also high reward. And I love it. I think it's great. Because potentially, Michael Porter Jr. could be the best 14th overall pick in NBA draft history. He could be incredible. But he also could completely fail. So I think it's interesting. I think the payoff, if it works, is worth the risk. Because you're never going to, no matter who you get at the 14th pick, it's not going to be the same as if Michael Porter Jr. delivers. So I like that the Nuggets took a chance. They're like, we have nothing. We need a star player. We're going to take a chance on Michael Porter Jr. And time will tell. I really don't know. But I respect the gumption. I respect the gonads it took for the Denver Nuggets to say, we're going to take a chance. We're going to take a guy who may not play. He may be injured. He may be the next Greg Oden. But you got to take risks to win in the world. You got to leave for college. I went to college. I left. I've taken many risks in my life. I think you have to get ahead in life. And I think the Denver Nuggets took a risk. And time will tell. We'll see if it's a good move or not. I don't know. I really don't know. But I'm rooting for the Nuggets. I hope it works out. Thank you so very much for watching. Remember, you can subscribe to Strong Opinion Sports on iTunes, on SoundCloud, and on YouTube. You can find the full entire hour-long podcast on YouTube, as well as my best, most interesting clips. If you like Strong Opinion Sports as much as I do, help me grow this podcast by telling your friends about this show. Share it on Facebook, on Twitter, on Instagram, whatever it is. Help me grow this podcast by telling your friends. Thank you so much, and have a great day.